All right, looks like we have another bubble on the horizon with respect to the housing market. This time it's in the rental arena, and I can tell you that rental rates are surging beyond control. So, welcome to Housing Bubble 2.0 News of the Week, or as I like to call it, another episode of As the Housing Bubble Turns, or Market Turns, or whatever you want to call it these days. Things are out of control, like usual, and yet one more thing to deal with in the housing market. Today is February 17th, and hope you're all doing well. Randy Patrick here, putting the realism back in real estate. But first of all, this video is brought to you by our friends at Foreclosure.com. That's my link. It's gethousingdata.com that takes you to my site for my partner with Foreclosure.com. I know I've talked to some people and there's been some confusion about that. So this is an affiliate link, takes you there, jump on it. Obviously, I get a little bit of credit for it. It's not that much. But the reason I'm doing this because it gives you an inexpensive way to take a casual look from I guess you could say a group or a company here that has, probably the most, distressed property listings around. So you can easily take advantage of what's going on in your neck of the woods by seeing the distressed properties, what's going on, learn a bit about the market, make your better purchases. So that's a scoop on that. So anyway, we're going to get into this rental issue right now. And, it's one more thing that is as if housing prices double-digit, appreciation isn't enough for first-time home buyers and people who are moving up or moving down and equity issues, etc. Now we're faced with an ever-increasing rental situation because single-family home rents have surged at the fastest pace ever. So typically we see rental rate increases, 3%, 4%, maybe 5% tops. Well, we're seeing it sort of go into the double digits now and really or approaching that. So basically, CoreLogic new report says rent prices for single-family homes increased by 7.8% in 2021. A record high in December, rent prices jumped 12% year over year for the month. So that's where the double digits come in, and there's no lack of slowing down here. So it's getting pretty tight. Certain locations across the country have a lot of time because people can't buy, so therefore they can't rent either. It's like it's a double whammy here. That's not very good. So you can see how this has worked since 2005. So clearly we had a little dip with respect to the pandemic timing, but now we've come back with a vengeance. That's probably got to do with a little bit of relocation and repositioning, maybe people who are looking to get out of the urban cores and go to more suburbia, etc. So I'm not too sure how the mix is working here, but this particular chart and information is based on the single family homes. We also will talk about the apartments as well too. So this is what we got in the single families. We're seeing a pretty big spike right now, and is there an opportunity there? Yeah, from an investment perspective, you can grab a house at a good price. You're going to rent it. You probably can do a good deal on your cash flow. But this would be concerning if I'm looking to rent. It's kind of like I'm getting hit on both sides now. I can't buy for whatever reason, and I can't rent. This is courtesy of a website from wolfstreet.com. Interesting because I like what he's saying here. It says, soaring rents for single-family homes come as on-time rent collections are rapidly deteriorating. So what we see is that rents are increasing, on an exponential level, yet the payment time frame is actually decreasing. So paying on time. So you can see that, only 92% of renter households made their payment for December. By the end of December, that's the lowest percentage since April 2019, down from the year before and down from 2 years ago when it was pretty much 96%. So the issue he points out is that it's what stands out is the downtrend over those 33 months, the past couple of years here, interrupted by the months when big stimulus checks poured into the household coffers. So ultimately, you can see that there's been a downward trend on paying on time, which indicates financial problems, inflation problems, etc., are affecting the average everyday person. And you can see when it kind of pops up, it's because, hey, I got my stimulus check, so now got a little bit extra money here. I can make more of us can make our rent payments on time, which certainly helps. But stimulus money's over; it's not coming anymore, and you can see that it's taken a bit of a dive here. Now, of course, what goes on in December. Well, it's holiday time. I'm sure it's expensive for many people, many families. You're buying presents, you're having bigger dinners, you're going out doing things, Christmas parties, whatever. So it certainly is a drain to your cash flow situation. Holiday time. It's just it's not a normal month. It's an expensive month typically in December. So you can see that more people had a difficulty paying their rent in the month of December. So I think this is just an indication as to what's going to happen as the year goes on with respect to people who are in not great income situations. This is a larger blow up over here, but you can see that we basically went from 33 months ago, almost 98% people paying on time on the single family realm to 92% where we are today. So it's about a 6% decrease there, and that's obviously going to still trend downwards as time goes on. All right, so we move forward here. Again, it basically says without stimmy checks, increasing rent prices and soaring inflation in general will continue to pressure household finances for sure. With inflation climbing to its highest pace in 4 decades, such cost pressure sent consumer sentiment to its lowest level in more than a decade last week. So yeah, when we take a look at consumer sentiment and home buying sentiment and things like that, we are, again, it's plummeting. It's at record lows. People are concerned about a lot of things going on right now, and these financial issues are not helping people, get properties or live whatever. So now we pop to the apartment side of the arena here. Rents are up by a record-setting 18% year over year, but the growth has slowed. That's for sure. National Rent Index up 18% year over year. You can see that there's 4 lines on the graph here. Obviously, it's looking at 2018, 19, 19, 20, 20, 21, and then 21, 22. So we can see that, we've actually had, some marginal growth, 2.3%, 3.2% before the pandemic. During the pandemic, we actually saw negative growth in rent rates. And now, of course, the changes were up, almost 18%. So that's on the apartments list, which is pretty much, they're going to, these apartment, I guess you say, analyst companies, they basically will look at 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom, apartment, costs in the major cities to determine sort of where things are at. But it's really interesting to see sort of what's playing out here. So we have, the surge, and then we have a little bit of a surge, then the downplay, then it pops up exponentially. So the cities with the fastest and slowest rent growth here, from apartment lists, it's the rent estimates. You certainly got, look at New York's up there, Tampa, where I live. I can tell you right now, there's a lot going on in Tampa, and sort of the Florida area. That's why I'll talk about this a bit later on in some future videos. But I'm doing work on a build to rent concept for investment opportunities right now. So you may want to reach out to me about that because I'm pretty ready to launch it as we go now. So Tampa's up there, obviously Scottsdale, Arizona, the Phoenix area. Orlando's up. Mesa, Arizona, St. Pete's, which is across the bay here, up as well too. So you can Phoenix, Vegas, Miami. You just excuse me, take a look at some of the stuff going on here. We got a lot of locations in, obviously Nevada, Arizona, going up there, Florida. So Greensboro, North Carolina, that's a good place as well too. That's the big growth right here. The slowest growth, obviously Detroit area, Minneapolis, Des Moines, Cleveland, St. Louis, Milwaukee, Louisville, Norfolk, Lubbock, Fremont, St. Paul, Portland, New Orleans, Lincoln, Madison, Kansas City, Corpus Christi, Tulsa. Not sure why. I'm sure we can all think of reasons why there'd be slow rent growth in those locations. Just depends, I suppose, on the sort of, industrial climate, the job opportunities, the political climate, crime, whatever. So a lot of things factor into where people want to live and what they're willing to pay as far as rental property here. But you can see that it's a big difference there on, New York 33.5% versus Detroit 2.6%. That's a 30% swing in growth as far as rent rates go. So quite interesting. We have it here. This is a heat map that they show. So clearly the darker the yellowy orangey color is, the more the higher the percentage of rent growth. So we can see that the light blue is in locations that are negative, which looks like to be the Bay Area and San Francisco and part of Texas. Looks like a little bit up in the Washington area too, Seattle area. Where we see the darkest colors here, the deepest orange or rust color, certainly is in the southeast. Southwest areas, that tends to be where, so obviously Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico area, a lot of stuff in Texas, clearly Florida. some North Carolina areas and stuff. So that's where we see a lot of activity in rent rate growth. So you keep that in mind. Will that help you either move or invest? It's up to you guys how you interpret that. But clearly you can look at these numbers and go, hey man, we've got a lot going on here. Also, I'd like to say, for those of you who have subscribed to me, I appreciate your patronage and your views, etc. If you're new to the channel, I'd love it if you'd subscribe, smash the subscribe button, help my channel grow. That's great. If you're a current subscriber, please verify that, because I tend to lose subscribers more than I gain for various reasons. So once again, appreciate those who watch, appreciate those who comment, appreciate those who reach out to me. I do have a lot of good conversations, a lot of people, and hope to keep doing more of these as time goes on, because we're at the inflection point now, folks. So please, if you're not a subscriber, do me the honor and smash the subscribe button. I do appreciate it. All right, moving on here. Let's go to what do we got talking about next. So this is out of Wolf Street as well, too, wolfstreet.com. When will the brutal spike in rents drive up CPI inflation? So part of the issue with respect to how the government views house price appreciation or house price inflation is the fact that they don't really use home prices. They tend to use rental rates as a, as a statistic to measure and to calculate, the sort of, real estate and inflation component, I guess. So basically, it's, this is a good article to read. You might want to check it out. Basically, it says that, these brutal spike in rents will eventually drive up CPI inflation, consumer price index inflation, but how much will it add to the CPI, and when does it show up? So it's like, the stuff that's happening now. So, high rent costs that are happening now, we'll call it, advertising rates now that people haven't signed leases that'll eventually sort of play in as time goes on. But it's going to take time for that to make an impact in the CPI for housing. So that's just interesting to know that, it's almost like, we've seen, sort of, I guess, a big increase in January, but when will the spike in asking rents drive up CPI, and how much will add to CPI is kind of like the question going forward. So that's why, I think a lot of times the government is misreading, and I'm not saying this, is a lot of times other economists and analysts are saying the government's completely misread the housing market for the past 5 years. And, this is a reason why too, because it's just the fact that some of these statistics or ways they calculate inflation and other numbers don't really coincide with what's really happening in the real housing market, albeit, purchase or rental market. So that's, concern to people. So eventually we'll see that. He's saying that the asking rent spikes are brutal. Rents for single-family homes and condos in the rental market exploded by 12% year over year in the U.S., varying widely from city to city. So that's the scoop. The worst increase in the data, which starts in 2004, according to CoreLogic, Miami tops the list. So there we go. It's one of those things that, in 20 of the largest 100 cities, rent spikes by 20% or more. So it's not like, as I said, rents are going up by 3% or 5%. They're going up by double digits, if not 20%. So it's tough to financially figure out if you're looking to rent someplace and, looking for properties. Like, man, you're getting priced out. Every time you look for something, you're getting priced out. And landlords, they can pick and choose now. They can be a lot more selective in who they're going to rent to, and keep the criteria level higher, or either credit report or job or income or whatever. I'm going to say too that, this shouldn't be a surprise that landlords are increasing their rent, because we did go through about almost 2 years of what we call eviction moratoriums. And a lot of the landlords that are out there got, pummeled by that pretty substantially, whether you were, holding a couple properties yourself, or whether you own an apartment complex or whatever, small multifamily, whatever it is, mobile homes, doesn't matter. If people weren't paying you, you were stuck and you couldn't force them out for a certain period of time via the eviction process. So I look at maybe some of these increases are we'll call it make up for lost revenue. So two things: they're trying to get more money in as quick as possible, and because they can, and two, they're setting higher standards. What I mean by that is, maybe, because of what's happened, they're looking for the, utopia type of renter who's got great credit, great income, does what you want them to do, doesn't cause problems, and you can be more selective, which means you can charge more, etc. So it works for them, because, again, a lot of people lost a lot of money with no support, and all these programs that came out that were designed to assist renters and landlords were difficult at best when getting that money to the actual in the landlord's hands. So we've had firsthand experience with having clients who we've worked the system who never got it, or whose renters didn't care and didn't fill out the paperwork and stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that we don't hear about, or we don't, it's not talked about as to what really happens behind the scene. That's kind of my take on that. So very interesting though. So we'll see again. Dear Mr. Fed, Chair Powell, sir, rents are blowing out and people are hurting. So again, when we take a look at in 34 of the largest 100 cities, rents spiked 15 by 28%. Tenants get to pay for your reckless monetary policies that made the wealthy far wealthier. So certainly, we're talking in January, the median asking rent for one-bedroom apartments increased by 10% or more in 56 of the 100 largest locations. In 34 of the 100 largest cities, one-bedroom rent spiked 15% or more. In those 20 cities, rent spiked by 20% or more. So we'll take a look at that right now. So basically, the issue is that it's tough to keep up, and it's problematic. Here's the 34 cities. So they're just looking at one-bedroom apartments. This is the top 34 where rents jumped 15% to 28%. So basically, Fresno number 1, Scottsdale, Arizona number 2, Orlando, Knoxville, Tennessee, Boston, Glendale, Tampa, Austin, Miami, New York, Anchorage. I haven't heard Anchorage having any issues over the years. That's interesting. Tulsa, Oklahoma, Mesa, Arizona, Boise, Idaho, St. Petersburg, Vegas, Jacksonville. So what do we see? We see a lot of big cities. We see concentration, certainly in around the Phoenix and in the Florida area for sure. So that's no surprise here. We want to take a look at the next 17 here. That was the top. That's the first half of the chart. We got Gilbert, Arizona, Henderson, Nevada, Chattanooga, Tennessee, Laredo, Texas, Seattle, Washington, Detroit, Michigan, Irving, Texas, El Paso, Texas, Bakersfield, California, Raleigh, North Carolina, Lincoln, Nebraska, Plano, Texas, Tucson, San Diego, Denver, Chandler, and Reno. So again, what do we see? Southeast, we see Texas, we see Arizona areas, Nevada. So it seems to be trending like some of the purchase prices as well too. So no surprise here. I mean, there is a big shift of population, moving around the country, which is interesting and kind of a novel thing going on here. These are the 8 cities where one-bedroom rents actually fell. So here are the only 8 cities of the 100 largest cities where rents fell. So out of 100 largest cities across the nation, only 8 locations where rent fell: Newark, New Jersey, Milwaukee, Richmond, Virginia, Minneapolis, Minnesota, St. Louis, Kansas, Missouri, Cincinnati, Ohio, and New Orleans, Louisiana. So why they fell, not too sure. Well, I'm sure we can all think about it and maybe come up with some ideas. But the point here is that you're looking at if Newark, for example, is dropping by, like, Newark is one of the highest per concentration areas of foreclosure filings. So it's interesting that that's spiking, and rent prices are dropping there. So interesting. Other places in Minneapolis, Milwaukee, who knows? We know what's gone over there the past year or so. You can just see what's happening here, right? Some places like, say, New Orleans, with some of the situations a little more economically depressed down there with some of the storms and stuff like that. So no surprise for some of these cities. But again, only 8 out of 100 top metros had rent decreases, which is really a small number if you think about it. So that's the situation. Now, as I've been saying, there's really 2 housing markets at play right now. So if you don't get that, you should. We've got a mainstream, retail market that's talked about in the media, double-digit appreciation, everything's good, go buy that home, yeah. Let's have a great time. And then we've got what I call the shadow inventory, which is really the behind-the-scenes, off-market properties. They're not available on market yet. They're kind of churning through some of the situations. We've gone through foreclosure moratorium and other kind of restrictions. Pretty much most locations across the country are over their moratoriums for foreclosure and eviction. There may be the odd county here and there that still has something going on, but by and large, virtually everything is over right now. So now we're going to start to see how that will slowly work its way through the system, and how that will sort of, eventually sort of manifest, and see what comes on the market as far as more distressed properties, and hopefully they'll be cheaper priced, etc. But herein lies the opportunity to either buy something that you want to live in personally at a cheaper price, and or for the rental or investment opportunities. There's lots going on out there. We're really moving forward on a lot of stuff right now in my area here. So that's the scoop. What else do I want to talk about here? Well, basically, it's it is what it is, right? So we got to understand that when you're in this situation, there's going to be opportunities like this. This is a recently closed short sale, so people always ask, what kind of deals can you find? You've got mainstream media that say, well, anybody who's facing foreclosure, they're just going to simply sell because of all this equity in the property, and they'll just walk away. Everything will be great. So we're going to see no issues in the housing market. Well, here's an example of something that was 340,000 owed. This is Central Tampa. You can see that the purchase price we negotiated was 172, about a 49% discount off the mortgage. The instant equity on that was about 177K. Stopped the imminent foreclosure sale on the way. Start to approval 53 days, which is pretty darn good. And you can see the Zillow numbers there. Now, the Zillow I always take with a grain of salt, but that's the mid-range Zillow on 353. So it went up to 375 as well too. So this home will sell. You fix it up, it'll sell for 400 grand right now here in Tampa. So it just goes to show that there are opportunities if you know where to find them and how to work the magic on this like we do. All right, so inquire within if you'd like. I like to say that. So as I mentioned, I got the build to rent, build to flip going on now. That's very interesting for anybody who wants to invest and figure that stuff out here. I'm launching a new sort of training course. It's called Distressed Deal Architect. I'm only going to offer 25 spots available for this. So I've got it almost done now. So it's going to be a 6 to 8 week training program where we're going to take you through all the sort of sub niche markets of what to do for distressed property, how to get your hands on them and what to do with them and what to look for, etc. So, and also, of course, got the flagship short sale program going on, and that's people are inquiring about that. Why? Because we know with all these foreclosures that are coming, that's the way to stop them, guys. So anyway, that's what I got going on here. Just thought I'd give you an update as to what we have with respect to this secondary bubble. Oh, by the way, here working on this project as well too. So I'm looking for investor partners on this. So people who want to get involved. I'm not looking for someone who says at this point in time, I want to buy one of the units. I'm looking for people who are like, yeah, I'll be a financer, money player, partner in this type of project here. So we're working on this right as we speak. There's a lot of upside here. So certainly would like to speak to people who want to reach out and talk about this with me. So that's an opportunity as well. I want to do more of these as time goes on. So you want to know how to engage the distressed market, reach out to me. I'm doing my best to get back to people. Been a busy few weeks. It's going to get busier. So jump in now because soon won't be time. There will be no time to get involved with this because we'll all be so very, very busy. All right, guys. Appreciate the views, likes, comments. Please share the video with your family and friends. If you're not a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button. Help my channel grow. I'd appreciate it. Look forward to speaking with you in the next little while.